I could hear Bob.
Okay.
I could hear Bob better than Adriana.
Okay. Because Lee, it looked like it was set up for.
Dad, you're crystal clear. Tom's crystal clear. Me and Adriana are as we're on a brand new network, a new house, and everything. So we're trying to figure that out. Poor signal connection right this minute. So can you hear right this moment?
Yeah. What I wanted to say to you, Lee, is that when I went to start to come to this room, it came up as yesterday's room. That's what was projected for today, and I had to leave Clubhouse and then come back so that I could be in this room. I got. It just seemed like I got into a bramble bush, like a rabbit. But anyway, maybe that'll help if it means anything to you. I don't know. Hope so. George, I'm particularly happy to see you today. Um, I want to share, and Lee doesn't know this yet. I just found out just a few minutes ago that is working with me on Liberia just went through an operation where they removed his gallbladder. They cut into his pancreas and into his stomach and connected them with a bile duct. And I just heard just now he's all well. He's not bleeding. There's no leaking. And most importantly of all, the cancer mass that he had is gone. It was taken out with that operation. Now it's just a matter of time, and he's completely healed from that. I'm so thrilled, I just started to cry. And I just wanted to be able to share that right away, how wonderful that miracle is. It's the most important miracle right now, with so many others. So I just wanted to share that. And whenever Lee is ready to re embark us on this wonderful trip we're taking, lesson
I'm ready.
lesson 185. It is, I told Adriana last night, it is my most favorite of all. And there's a reason why. Now, we've said that a number of times recently, but this particular lesson and the first few paragraphs were said by a beautiful voice and recorded on a cassette tape that was before any of the other stuff that we had. This was in the 80s. And it was my first introduction to A Course in Miracles. That's what these brought me to something that I was just amazed about. I didn't really even know what A Course in Miracles was, but I heard these words. I've never forgotten them. And I think it's just the first two paragraphs. So um, I'm looking forward to Lee reading it. And
I'm
just
ready to
want
read it.
to say that. Huh? What did you
I'm ready
say?
when you are, buddy.
Okay, go for it.
Papa, I'm ready to go.
Well, I just want to wish you guys a happy anniversary. July
Thanks,
4th
George.
anniversary.
How about that? That's a
It's true.
Sorry I didn't get down to the Carolinas, but I certainly wasn't going to miss the room.
Oh, that's no problem at all, man. It is amazing. I can't believe I don't think, yeah, we haven't missed a day. I haven't missed a day in a year. So
You guys have
you're still
not missed a
finishing up the
single
lessons
day.
strong?
Very impressive.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we've had a variety of computer situations, that's for sure. It's been a great adventure. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, here we go. Lesson 185. I want the peace of God. To say these words, I want the peace of God, is nothing. But to me, these words, I want the peace of God, is everything. If you could but mean these words for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place, in any time. Heaven, help me, I can't turn the page. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. No one can mean these words, that I want the peace of God, and not be healed. One cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream, if he only wants the peace of God. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He only wants the peace of God, and the peace of God is given him for all that he wants. That is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but a few indeed have meant these words, that they only want the peace of God. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how God, the world would be completely changed. Should any two agree, these words express the only thing they want. I'm getting a bunch of red flashes on my phone. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Is anybody else out there?
Everything's fine. Doing good.
Hopefully. But, all right, wonderful. I'm going to ignore the warning signs and full throttle ahead then. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what the two minds will together become, the two minds will together become the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two minds can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different. The outcome wanted not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Yet, compromise alone, a dream can bring. Sometimes a dream takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream. For compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams. Dreaming minds merely bargain. And what bargain can give a sleeping mind the peace of God? Illusion come to take God's place. And what the oneness of God means is lost to sleeping minds, intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. To mean that you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words, that they only want the peace of God, who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions about by following the voice for your ego. He who only wants the peace of God has looked on illusions and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond illusions, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing than all the others. Dreams are one to him who only wants the peace of God, and he has learned their only difference is one of form. For one dream will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. The mind, which means that all it wants is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding peace is given. In a form each mind that seeks for peace in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake peace, if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson of peace will with acceptance and be truly learned. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words, that I want the peace of God, do not request another dream be given us. These words, that I want the peace of God, do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one egoic plan that can succeed where all the rest have failed. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain, requesting the eternal in place of shifting dreams, which seem to change in what form the dream offers, but are one in nothingness. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind for the dreams you cherish still. What do you consider but what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness? But be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for other dreams. All of your ego's illusions within the dream of separation are one. And being one question should be asked of all of your ego's plan for your peace and happiness. Is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God? Adriana, can you come back in here? This decision between wanting your ego's plan or the peace of God is the choice you make. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. You choose God's peace, or you have asked for your ego's dreams, and your ego's dreams will come as you requested them. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly and remain with you forever. God's peace will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road, to reappear unrecognized in forms which shift and change with every step. You want the peace of God, and so do all who seem to seek for dreams. For those who seem to seek for dreams as well as yourself, you ask but this when you make this request for the peace of God with deep sincerity. For thus you reach to what they really want, which is the peace of God, and join your own intent with what they seek above all things. Perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, and unsure of what you wanted, where to look for the peace of God, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Help has been given you, and would you not avail yourself of the help of the Holy Spirit by sharing it? No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find God's peace, for he merely asks that he will deceive himself no longer by denying to his big S self, his higher self, what is God's will. Who can remain unsatisfied? Who asks for what he, in his Christ's nature, has already? Who could be unanswered who requests an answer to which his is his to give? The peace of God is yours, given you by its creator, and established as God's own eternal gift. How could you fail when you but ask for what God wills for you? And how could your request be limited to you alone? No gift of God can be unshared. It is this attribute that God's gifts are shared by all that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that ever seemed to take the place of truth. No one can lose, and everyone must gain whenever any gift of God has been requested and received by anyone. God gives but to unite. To take away is meaningless to God, and when to take away is as meaningless to you. You can be sure you share one will with God and God's will with you. And you will also know you share one will with all your brothers, whose intent is yours. It is this one intent of only wanting the peace of God that we seek today, uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it, perfect, whole, and complete. With help like this beside us, can we fail today as we request the peace of God be given us? All right, that was the lesson 185. Like Dad said, it's a blockbuster, one of the best ones there is, one to come back
Honey,
to over and over.
do you hear
Yeah,
me? Okay, can you turn down a little
I
bit the
do hear
music?
you.
Okay, can
I
you
sure
turn
can.
down the
If you
music a
come into
little
this
bit?
room, I can give you the password.
Ah, don't
Absolutely.
worry, no,
I can take care of the
I'm here.
music.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up. All right. All right. Well, welcome. And here we go into the notes. Notes to lesson 185. I wrote it down on a post-it note for you, sweetie. That was the best I could do. It's here on a post-it note for you. Notes to lesson 185. I want the peace of God. Everyone claims that they want the peace of God, but do they? We confuse inner peace with getting our way. Your ego values your need to be right, even when it's wrong. I was wrong. And that, every mistake, that costs you your happiness and inner peace. All right, there we go. I want the peace of God. Everybody claims they want the peace of God, but do they? We confuse inner peace with getting our way. Your ego values your need to be right even when it's wrong, and that costs you your happiness and inner peace. You will have the peace of God only when that is what you exclusively desire. Currently, most people value their need to be right over their happiness and inner peace. Yesterday's workbook lesson talked about naming. To name is to limit. When you name, you assign certain special characteristics that limit and separate one part of the indivisible whole from itself. Our final question for yesterday was to define what you are. How you define yourselves tells a great deal about the exclusivity of your desire for God's peace. You cannot want the peace of God and believe in lack, limitation, and separation. Although most people would argue that they do not want lack, limitation in their lives, our egos cling to our desire for separation and autonomous existence. Unfortunately, when you perceive yourself to be separate from God, your source, this naming of what you are must include the attributes of lack and limitation. You cannot define yourself as separate without also creating the illusion of lack and limitation in your life. Yesterday, we said that naming makes your provisional reality real within your own mind. Attributes that come with that particular name. Accept the belief in separation, and you get the lack and limitation that are associated with that name or belief. In this world of time and space, it would seem that we share the common belief in separation with our brothers and sisters. Yet this lesson says you cannot share illusions, since you can only share the truth. It also states that two minds that share one intent become the will of God. Doesn't our egoic mind share the same intent when two parties both argue for their littleness? Shouldn't this become God's will? That is a really good question. Since each party believes that they have a separate, autonomous existence, how each party views a common event will differ. This means each party's intent behind their common experiences will not be the same. Although each person's story may revolve around the same set of facts, each person will be the hero of their story. The story will always be told from their own perspective, based upon what they value and why. Each will always be the star and narrator of their own story. When you perceive the separation to be real, the intent or objective of your provisional reality will be the fulfillment of your perceived personal needs. Needs are an attribute of your belief in separation. Whenever you associate yourself with being separate or different from the one self, needs automatically appear. Compromise, no. Because we have needs, The goal of our provisional reality is not to share our abundance, but rather to bargain from our belief in lack. The ego believes that sharing or giving requires sacrifice, and therefore it attempts to minimize the price that you must pay to get your needs met. The ego wants a good deal. Compromise is the goal of all the many versions of the dream of separation. All forms of the dream seek to obscure the oneness of our higher self, our big S self. The ego seeks to manage, control, and mitigate the damage that fictitious outside forces pose to its survival. The goal or intent of each party within the dream of separation is to sacrifice or trade something of lesser value in exchange for something of greater value. In the dream of separation, the ego hopes to minimize or remove the illusion of lack and limitation while maintaining its belief in the illusion of separation. You cannot find the peace of God if you insist on keeping the illusions of separation. Truth and illusions cannot coexist. If you want the peace of God, you must choose exclusively for the truth of your oneness and reject your ego's belief in separation. Reject your ego's belief in separation. I should get that tattooed on my forehead. All right. Peace is obtained by joining with other minds in the truth that all remain part of the indivisible one self. The peace of God is our natural state of being, since it is God's will. It is only your desire for illusion of smallness that keeps this truth obscured from our vision. You cannot serve two masters, nor follow two opposing thought systems. When you follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit's thought system exclusively, you will truly want God's peace. Since God's gifts have already been given, the Holy Spirit will help you remove the blocks that prevent you from recognizing that those gifts already are a part of your big S self. All of God's gifts are shared by all, but can choose to deny that truth. Sorry, one moment. Yes, realization that no one can rob you of your own inner peace unless you choose to allow it. That is so important. This is the truth that we need to share with our brothers and sisters. Everybody wants this truth, but most fail to understand what it means. They prefer to argue for the rightness of their ego's belief in victims and victimizers. All dreams are different forms of our belief in separation. As decision maker, you only have two possible choices. Each choice is mutually exclusive. You must choose between the dream of separation or the oneness that is the peace of God. Only when you want the peace of God for all will it be given you. For like all of God's gifts, the peace of God must be shared with all. As a messenger for God, you must realize that our higher self already possesses the peace of God within, and thus this peace can be shared with anybody, anyone, even if their egoic mind may not realize this fact. When you only want the peace of God for all, your will and God's will are the same. You share one intention, one purpose, and are of one mind. This mind is, of course, the shared mind of God. And that's the end of the notes. Tom poses this question. Your world of provisional reality is a reflection of what you value and why. It reflects your true beliefs at any given moment in time about what you are. So, how peaceful is your world? Based on this feedback about the peace in your private world of individuated perception, how strongly do you really desire the peace of God? Give it a percentage from 0 to 100. And on this special day, Tom gives us a bonus question. What actions can you take today to improve that percentage? More importantly, will you choose to implement these actions? Fantastic. I'm in, Tom. I'm going to do it today. And I'm ready for a nice, relaxing meditation. We have the perfect audience today. I'm so glad and happy you guys are here. Thank you so much for celebrating this anniversary with us.
Okay, so today's lesson says that I want doesn't really mean anything. They're easy to say, but what you really need is you must really mean those words. So today we're going to try to come to the realization of what that means and why we might prefer the peace of God over arguing for our littleness. And time and space, which is the game board for the idea that we could be something other than as God created us, perfect, whole, and complete. Our function is forgiveness, our purpose is love, and our destiny is the peace of God. That destiny, the peace of God, is always with you. It's never been lost. It's just a question whether or not you choose to deny or argue for your littleness over claiming the truth that we remain part of one self as God created us, perfect, whole, and complete. So today, let's look at that. And I hope you took a moment to give yourself a score as to what percentage, based on how your life seems to unfold, do you really want the peace of God? For this lesson says that you'll have it when you truly want it. So today, let's take a look at what the options are. So why don't you get in a comfortable position if you're not, and start becoming aware of the breath. And as you do that, just take in the energy, life force, the light that you are, and start calling your attention, your awareness, not on the game token we call the body, but on your light, your spirit, the truth of what you And as you draw in that light, you realize that although the light may appear to be outside of yourself, actually it is you, and therefore you also emanate that same light. And as you realize this, for there is only light, the idea of separation is the mistaken belief that somehow we could have a will that was different than God's will. It's the belief that God's will was not that you be happy, but instead that God was somehow not a God of unconditional love. It's this belief that we've created a God to fear that helps the ego want to argue for its littleness, for its belief in separation, for its belief that a God of unconditional love somehow could want you, its creation, its child, to somehow suffer and somehow lose its divine inheritance. That's what the ego wants to argue, that somehow you're a sinner, that somehow you lack, that somehow you have caused unconditional love to reject you, to cease loving you. That is what your ego argues, your little s self, when it claims that you are somehow tainted, somehow now unearned, or someone who must do penance and suffer. Is that really what you want? Do you want to suffer? Do you want to earn some type or do penance so that you can earn some type of reward? Or would you rather have it now? Would you rather accept the truth that God is only unconditional love? And if God is unconditional love and like begets like, you too must be that. Your function in time and space is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the realization that there are no victims, there are no victimizers. There's only willing volunteers participating on the game board of time and space to help learn, hone their skills, and demonstrate in an illusionary dream that provides the appearance of separation to demonstrate what love would have me do, to reclaim or reawaken to your spiritual essence, the truth that you are God's treasure. You are the recipient of unconditional love. You, as a decision maker, need to decide, do you want to argue for your littleness? Do you want to argue for pain, suffering, for the worry, the blame, the shame that is associated with arguing for your ego's claim that you're a victim of outside forces that are beyond your control? Or would you rather accept the truth that you remain as God created you, that God is a God of unconditional love, and that your desire, your belief that you are not responsible for inner peace and that somehow it's been stolen, but some outside force must give you your inner peace or happiness. That is arguing for victimization and your belief that you prefer to not be in charge of your own inner peace. Would a God of unconditional love want that for you? God's love flows. It flows towards you, in you, permeates your essence, for it is you. It comes from within. And your ego, your little s self, decision to argue for your rightness prevents you from truly meaning that I only want the peace of God. The peace of God is already given. The peace of God is there asking for you to stop arguing for your littleness, your ability to claim, I'm not responsible for my own happiness, for my own inner peace, to blame others or God or perhaps your own self, and to hold you in victimization. You, as decision maker, can decide to only want the peace of God. Let's make that decision. Let's decide that I only want the peace of God. And let's compare that to the pain, suffering, the worry, the blame, shame, and guilt that this world of arguing for your littleness provides for you. What's that experience? Wouldn't you rather have the knowledge of the truth? Breathe in the total acceptance of the love of God. You are God's treasure. Become aware of the unconditional love that surrounds you, that flows endlessly. Today, I make a decision to accept the love of God. Today, I make a decision to remove all block I've placed to pretend that that flow had been stopped. I accept the love of God, and that acceptance, that peace, that harmony, that oneness, bathe in that truth. I am God's beloved child with whom she is well pleased. And as you bathe there, hear the voice ringing out, saying those words. You are my treasure. You complete me. My will for you is only that you be happy. But you, to be happy, must freely choose. That is what you truly want. I want the peace of God. Today, I accept the love. I rest in the truth that my divine inheritance, which is my destiny, the peace of God, is mine today, has never been lost, is always available to me whenever I make the decision to freely accept it. The choice is yours. Argue for your littleness, argue for your pain, your belief in separation, lack, limitation, or accept the truth. You are an individuated aspect of that one self. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. And as you realize that, part of that oneness, the realization that all share that divine inheritance is the truth, your truth. The law of God says you to give is to receive. And therefore, today, we give that same peace, that same trust, that same allowance, that same freedom of all aspects of individuated consciousness to be on their own perfect path. And today we hold out the truth that all remain as God created, perfect, whole, and complete. And therefore, in this illusion of time and space, this game board of perception, we accept the truth that people, rocks, dogs, all things that we seem to have relationships are part of that one self, and that they, like you, are on their own perfect path in time and space. Our function is forgiveness, our purpose is love, and our destiny is the peace of God. Today, we share that destiny. Today, you make the decision to mean I only want the peace of God. And with that decision, realize that you can trust all things that unfold today, allow all things, forgive all things, and thus transcend the illusion of lack, limitation, sin, guilt, fear, blame, shame, all those illusions. Drop, gone, no longer arguing for the littleness of yourself or your brother or your sister or your world. The world is a reflection of me. And today I accept my destiny, the peace of God. It's my choice, my decision. And today, decide for yourself that that's what you truly want. And as you rest in that moment, feel the love of unconditional acceptance, the love of God. No blame, shame, guilt, just total acceptance, loving you for all. I breathe in the love of God. I accept that love of God. I want the peace of God. And as you realize and make that decision that that is what you become aware of the time space, this world of form, the dream of separation, and realize that on this game today, you can be a messenger for God. For to give is to receive. I give the peace of God, for that is what I want. I give the peace of God, for I have the peace of God. I am the peace of God. I extend that peace of God. And with that decision, with that knowing, reconnect to the game token we call the body. And as you place your attention and move the energy through that game token so that you reconnect to this game war, as the energy flows through your body, it maybe reaches the soles of the game token we call the part of the feet. Just send an energy bolt back home, connecting to the chair, the earth, the room, reconnecting to this game, this illusion that we've decided to purchase. And when you feel connected, just take a deep breath and open your eyes, knowing that you are God's beloved child. Namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in you. Thank you. Create a great day for yourself and your world.
Thanks, Tom. That's wonderful. I think that's kind of the meat of what we really wanted to cover today. I feel like this is a really special lesson, and that my network might make this sound terrible, but I just wanted to let you all know how much I appreciate you.
Well, I want the peace of God. And yes, this internet connection is really unstable. I hope you can hear me. Thank you, George, for your kind words. And Bob and Lee, happy anniversary for this beautiful room that you're having with us. And for us, thank you. Thank you for your time and yeah, and your efforts to share these lessons and all the content on this book for me has been, yeah, you know what has been for me. So thank you, everybody. Happy 4th of July. I hope you all have a beautiful day as the one that we are going to have around Bob and his family. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to say goodbye.
Tom, thanks for the meditation and the mic drop at the end effect was pretty cool. Bob, I forgot to tell you how much I'm happy for you and that news that you shared. And everybody have a great 4th of July, and obviously nice to be here. And just if everybody doesn't know what we're talking about, the anniversary, we launched our Facebook room, and I'm not sure, Lee, if you consider that same day the anniversary of the clubhouse, but we launched our Facebook room on July 4th last year, and you guys have been going strong and meeting here every day, and it's quite impressive, especially Tom waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning to do this. That's pretty impressive, Tom. Obviously, time does not mean as much to you as it does to me.
I can vouch for it. It's true. In the most beautiful way. He's a really fantastic example to work with, and it's a true honor. It's taken a bunch of deeper levels for me this year, and a much deeper commitment. But yeah, it's been special.
Yeah, great. And and Tom, we've been posting Tom's daily, well, the Course in Miracles obviously has a daily lesson, so we've been posting that lesson with Tom's minor edits. And then we've been posting Tom's notes. And Tom, we have been getting a lot of compliments on your notes and people participating in the questions in the Facebook room. So thanks for that, and thanks for your hard work. And we've had a few people note that your work on actually doing that must have been tremendous amount of work to go through the course and clarify the pronouns for us and do your comments. So yeah, so great getting to know you, and glad we can all be a part of this together.
I don't know if you guys know this, but George sleeps in an aircraft hangar with constant fans blowing in every direction.
You can hear my air conditioner?
Uh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
you should come
unbelievable.
listen to the playback once in a while. My goodness.
Oh, wow.
But I gotta say that but I gotta say that this is the first time that I really hear it loud. I mean, really like enclosed and loud. It's the first time that I hear it.
It
This is
sounds like you got 4 or 5 fans around you just blowing at you.
Well, not only do I need my sleep, but my temperature runs as hot as can be. So, yes, I always do have my air conditioner on.
I I can't imagine how hot you run.
Oh, my
That
goodness.
sounds.
My wife is always commenting on how warm I am. I walk into the room and it goes up 10 degrees.
Wow.
George,
you're like
you're
Absolutely
just
delightful.
you
hot
are
Yes,
pure
stuff.
light.
yes.
That's all.
I'm a hot papa.
You are hot stuff. We were talking
Well,
about that yesterday. Susie, every once in a while, she says, "I'm so hot this morning," and I say, "You sure are, baby." And she always smiles when I, it's funny how words mean almost anything you want them to mean, depending upon how you say it. And that's actually a strong part of this particular lesson. As I said earlier, I remember, I can see myself in the bookstore of Unity Church listening to this cassette tape. Um, and right now, I can't understand how I could have been listening to it because I'm sure I wasn't carrying a cassette tape. So I guess I imagined that part. But I took it and I listened to it, the first 2 paragraphs of this lesson. And it changed my mind, changed my heart, changed my life, really. I, I for the first time, I really believe that that was what I've been looking for all my life, the peace of God. And I might have thought at different times that there was something else that's more important. What that would be today, it's the most important thing that I can ever pray for, ask for, and receive. I want to tell you something brief that's happened this morning concerning this blessing, this lesson. As you all know, I'm working on this thing with Liberia, and I already mentioned that most important to me, Vernell has just come through a particular incredible operation where it looked like he wasn't going to make it much longer. He had cancer and he had troubles with his pancreas. He had been poisoned 6 months ago. It finally caught up with him, so to speak, and he wasn't really going to make it. And then he had this operation, and for 3 days he couldn't talk to anyone. And many people wondered, and a few certain people wondered, and I got some information from two of the people that are engaged in something that's parallel to this, what we're doing, but also part of what we're doing in Sierra Leone, which is next door to Liberia. And they had heard something that was going to, and I won't go into any details, they're not important. They clearly don't even want to talk about something that they found out, and they were ready to break off relations with someone who was extremely important to our program and essential to the program that Vernell and I have put together for Liberia. And I had told Vernell many months ago that a particular incident that happened with someone that I know very well might cause a problem if people knew about it. I'm just saying it like it is, even though I'm leaving out names. And I didn't know until this morning how clearly Vernell had gotten the understanding of this lesson until he separated one party from the other, told each of them that he will meet with us at different times over the phone and continue to go forward. I called him back and I asked him about it, and he told me that when we first got started and he knew these other things, that he was devoted to working with me to go forward. And he still is, and he absolutely, completely embraces exactly what we read this morning. It means so much to me because it confirms what I believed of him, that he's a deeper thinker than most people I've ever met in my life. Well, all people I've ever met, frankly. It's easy now for me to say that. It's taken me the 6 months to completely embrace him. And here he comes out of an incredible miracle that has saved his life. And the first thing he does, the first real action, is to work with me and clarify and clear up this particular issue that is clouding the relationship of others who are also involved in our current work. I realize I've left a lot of general terms. It'll have to stay that way for now. One-on-one, I'm glad to explain it to anyone who asks me. But it still stands that the peace of God is the most important gift that I've ever received. And I have received it. And I can say that today with full 100% commitment to that idea because of what I experienced this morning with this other person. As it says in that lesson over and over, it just takes two. And he showed me that he is committed to me as much as I am committed to him. I am so blessed. I am so happy this morning. This is the 4th of July. For me, probably the most important because I have my independence now. I can celebrate my independence from anyone else who doesn't happen to agree with me yet because I have the most important prize of all, the peace of God. So that's what I wanted to say this morning. And looks like everybody wants to go hither, thither, and anon. And that's great because I have some other things to do as well. Enjoy your day of independence. I love you all. And come on back on before you leave and say goodbye and namaste and all those nice things, unless you want to add something to what I've
Yeah.
said.
Goodbye and namaste. No
Later, great
problem. Everybody's
things.
been invited.
Namaste.
Everybody's had their chance. See you, Tom. Have a great one.
Bye now.
And Dad will be over after a little bit.
Okie doke. We'll see.
All
Can't
right.
wait to
Bye,
see
everybody.
you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,